Automated item generation is an important advancement in the field of psychometrics. It utilizes principles of automation and artificial intelligence to help organizations produce more test questions of higher quality. This can be true of whether you work in education, pre-employment exams, or professional credentialing. This presentation will provide a brief overview of what automated item generation is and a brief demonstration of automated item generation software. First, a bit about me, your presenter. I'm Nathan Thompson. I studied at the University of Minnesota in psychometrics and with a specific expertise in adaptive and personalized assessment. I realized early on that there is a lot of opportunity in implementing artificial intelligence and automation in the world of assessment. It especially became true when I started working in the field at an organization, and the psychometricians were spending a lot of time doing mundane work with spreadsheets when the stuff could have easily been automated. First of all, why automated item generation? Well, item development is one of the highest costs in the process of developing a high quality assessment. This is especially true when you're working with subject matter experts in very specific or highly qualified fields, such as medicine. In that case, you might be taking doctors away from seeing patients at a hospital to sit in a room and write test questions. That is very expensive. So principles of automated item generation, even if they can't perfectly replace those doctors, if they can make them twice as more effective so that the cost per item is reduced by half or even 20%, that's a substantial improvement. So item development requires many hours from subject matter experts. Of course, that can be quite expensive whether you're working with large item banks or with smaller item banks. And what Aig does is it takes principles of automation and artificial intelligence to either create new items or to create isomorphs or clones of items. And of course, this is going to drastically reduce the time and the cost per item, but there's also the benefit that it can increase the quality of the items themselves. There are two types of automated item generation. One is Nlp Driven Templates. NLP here refers to natural language processing algorithms. So the way that these work is that you feed text, like a textbook chapter, into the NLP algorithms. It's going to extract some statements that it thinks are good candidates. It's going to turn those statements into items by using very specific templates. And then humans are going to review the draft items, pick the good ones, and then they're often going to create the distractors. Here's an example of how that might work. You might give a reference text that says, at the Battle of Hastings in 1066, William of Normandy defeated King Harold II of England. So the algorithm would look at this statement and try to figure out what are some factual pieces of this that it could pull out and essentially turn into a blank or turn into a question. Because those are generally the two approaches that you can make a good multiple choice item out of. So you can see the first one, what is the name of the battle where William of Normandy defeated King Harold II of England? In this case, it's asking about the name of the battle. In what year was the Battle of Hastings? It's asking about the date. At the Battle of Hastings in 1066, William of Normandy defeated blank, King Harold of England. It's asking who lost. And who defeated King Harold II of England at the Battle of Hastings in 1066? It's asking who won. So there are four pieces of facts, or four facts in the reference text: the name of the battle, the date, the person who won, and the person who lost. And you can therefore create four questions out of this. This is the kind of thing that a human would utilize when they saw a statement like this and try to write questions about it. But because it's clearly algorithm driven and able to be defined by rules, it's then capable of being turned into software code. This approach does have some drawbacks. It does not involve subject matter expertise, so you're not going to be able to, write questions on, let's say, advanced medical scenarios that only qualified doctors would have come across. It's going to be limited to what is in textbooks or other references. It's not going to be able to make complex tasks such as those that are higher on Bloom's taxonomy. It's not going to be able to produce feasible distractors, and that's really what makes multiple choice questions work, is having good distractors. However, you can see that this still can be useful for making a massive amount of short answer questions in a brief amount of time, or at least making the stems of the multiple choice questions, and thereby saving a lot of time for the item writers. So if you were like in charge of writing items for a history book, a textbook, that's being part of an e-learning platform, approach like this definitely could be useful for you. The other approach is human-driven templates. So what happens here is that humans review reference content like a textbook, or use their expertise in their background. They create a cognitive template, often with a scenario or some other level of complexity. The humans are going to determine fields of this template that can be dynamically altered without affecting the function of the item. So they're going to look for facts that can be swapped without really changing the item. For example, if it's a medical scenario and you're asking about heart attacks in somebody aged 60 to 70, you could change the scenario of the question from a 62-year-old man felt heart pains while climbing the stairs, from a 60 to a 64-year-old man felt heart pains while out on a walk. That type of change doesn't drastically affect what the item is actually assessing. Humans are then going to specify possible values for these fields. So for example, they might do 62, 64, 66-year-old man. This is all going to be stored in specially designed software, which then generates these permutations. And then it's going to create those permutations for the examinees. This can be done in real time for the examinees, but it's better practice to do this beforehand and still have SME review. I saw a presentation once by the Medical Council of Canada at a conference who said they used this approach, and it still made their test development 6 times more effective and actually increased the quality of their items when they were looking at like discrimination parameters. It looks like this might not be that difficult of an approach, but it still had such a very strong positive impact. So next I'm going to show you some software that is able to accomplish this. If you're interested in signing up for an account yourself, simply go to assess.ai and click the sign up button. So here's what assess.ai looks like. I'm going to go into an item bank here and go into the automated item generation module. There's no templates yet, so I'm going to create a new template. And we'll call this chest pains. And then we'll be able to go in here and start creating some items, or rather the template. So like what we were just talking about, we can say blank year old man was blank and felt chest pains. And you can see if you were actually a doctor writing this question, you could go further and list some very specific numbers about a cardiogram or whatever it is that they're going to be using to measure it. But in this case, I'll just stop at this first sentence here. So what we can do here is create a new field and call it age, and say that the values are 62, 64, 66. And we could also create a new field called activity and say the values are walking, playing with grandchildren, climbing stairs. And then we can go over here and insert these values. So insert age and insert activity. If you want to, you can also create the answers like you see here. You can say what are the next steps, order an EEG, you could also recommend some medication. You might also recommend more exercise. Whether these are appropriate answers or these may not be appropriate answers, but you can get the idea here of what we're trying to do. You can then, once you're done creating the template, you can save and exit this and come back and edit it later. You can also let other users within your workspace come in and review it. And then once you're completely finished, you're able to export it with the export button here, and that would be able to provide all of the different permutations, which right now there's only 6 of them, but it could be a much larger number of permutations, and take those over for review by a team of subject matter experts before they're imported into the live item bank. So once again, you're able to sign up for a free account in Assess.ai if you wish to access this for free. You do not have to pay for this functionality. And if you have any other questions, of course, go to assess.com, our company's website, and submit an inquiry for a demonstration or to talk to a psychometrician. Thank you.